The arrangement. Camila Mendoza's fingers trembled as she adjusted the simple gold band on her left hand. The morning sunlight filtering through the courthouse windows made the modest ring gleam, a stark reminder of the contract she'd just signed, and the lies that came with it. "Stop fidgeting," Theo Blackwood murmured, his voice low and commanding. "You look nervous." "Maybe because I am," she whispered back, studying her new husband. At 35, Theo possessed the cold confidence that came with old money and absolute power. His tailored charcoal suit probably cost more than 6 months of her rent, and his steel gray eyes revealed nothing as they scanned the exit routes. "The paperwork is complete, Mrs. Blackwood," he said, the name sounding foreign even to her ears. "Our arrangement is officially in effect." The arrangement. Such a clinical term for marriage, but that's exactly what this was. A business transaction. 3 hours ago, Camila had been drowning in debt, watching her father's construction company crumble under the weight of medical bills after his stroke. Now she was married to one of Boston's wealthiest bachelors, with $2 million deposited into her account and a contract that outlined their separation 2 years from today. "Remember," Theo continued as they stepped outside, "discretion is paramount. My grandmother's inheritance clause requires marriage, but if she suspects this is anything but authentic, both of us lose everything." Camilla nodded. She understood the terms perfectly. Theo needed to be married by his 35th birthday to access his full inheritance, a fortune that would allow him to break free from his grandmother's control over the family's real estate empire. Camilla needed money to save her father's legacy and pay for his ongoing care. It was a perfect solution for both of them, provided no one discovered the truth. "Your things have been moved to the penthouse," Theo stated, checking his watch. "I've arranged for a car to take you there now. I have meetings until evening." "That's it?" Camilla asked, slightly dazed by the businesslike dismissal. "We get married and you just go back to work?" A hint of amusement crossed Theo's face. "What were you expecting, Camilla? A honeymoon? This isn't a romance novel." Heat crept into her cheeks. "Of course not. You'll have your own suite in the penthouse," he interrupted. "The housekeeper, Mrs. Harmon, knows our arrangement. She's discreet. You'll need to make some public appearances with me. Charity galas, family dinners, the usual. Your new wardrobe is waiting for you." "A new wardrobe?" Camilla frowned. "That wasn't in our agreement." "Consider it a business expense," Theo replied smoothly. "You can't attend Blackwood events dressed like an architect from the struggling side of town." The casual arrogance in his tone made Camilla's spine stiffen. "I'm perfectly capable of dressing myself." "I'm sure you are," he conceded, "but appearances matter in my world. The clothes have already been selected by my stylist." Before she could object further, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. The driver emerged and opened the rear door, waiting expectantly. "I'll see you tonight," Theo said, already turning toward a second vehicle. "We should discuss how to handle the inevitable questions about our whirlwind romance." Camilla watched him walk away, wondering what she'd gotten herself into. 2 years pretending to be in love with a man who viewed emotions as inefficient and relationships as business ventures. 2 years living a lie that would save her father but might cost her dignity. As the car pulled away from the courthouse, Camilla stared at the unfamiliar ring on her finger. This marriage was nothing but a paper shield, protection against financial ruin but creating new vulnerabilities she hadn't anticipated. She only hoped the arrangement wouldn't become a prison of its own making. The Golden Cage, the Blackwood penthouse, occupied the top 2 floors of a sleek glass tower overlooking Boston Harbor. Camilla stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching boats glide across the water while she sipped coffee from a porcelain cup that probably cost more than her former apartment's security deposit. 3 weeks into her marriage of convenience, and Camilla still felt like an imposter in Theo's world. Every morning she woke in a bedroom larger than her childhood home, surrounded by luxury that felt as foreign as the new surname on her driver's license. "Mrs. Blackwood," called Mrs. Harmon, the housekeeper whose perpetually pursed lip suggested she knew exactly what kind of marriage this was. "Your dress for tonight's charity gala has arrived. Shall I hang it in your closet?" "Yes, thank you," Camilla replied, turning from the window. Another evening playing the adoring wife. Another designer gown she'd never have chosen herself. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend, Daniela. "Still alive in Billionaire land? Dad's asking for you." A pang of homesickness hit her. Despite the money now flowing into the family construction business, Camilla felt increasingly cut off from her former life. Theo had suggested limiting contact with friends and family to prevent slips about their arrangement. "Mrs. Blackwood," another voice interrupted, colder than the Atlantic in January. Camilla turned to find Vivian Blackwood standing in the penthouse entryway, elegant in a navy suit despite being well into her 80s. "Mrs. Blackwood," Camilla acknowledged, forcing a smile. "I wasn't expecting you." Clearly, Vivian's sharp eyes took in Camilla's casual attire with undisguised disapproval. "I find surprise visits reveal far more than scheduled ones." The older woman moved through the space like she still owned it, trailing perfectly manicured fingers across surfaces as if checking for dust. "My grandson has always been impulsive, but marrying a woman no one has heard of with no connections or notable family history, that was unexpected even for Theo." Camilla felt her smile freezing in place. "Love is rarely logical, isn't it?" "Love," Vivian repeated, the word dripping with skepticism. "Tell me, what exactly drew you to my grandson, besides the obvious financial advantages?" "His determination," Camilla answered, finding truth in the lie. "His vision for the future." "Interesting," Vivian murmured, lifting a framed photograph of the courthouse ceremony. "No family present at your wedding. No celebration. Just signatures and a judge. We wanted something intimate." "Theo doesn't do intimate," Vivian countered. "He does strategic." Before Camilla could respond, the elevator doors opened, and Theo himself strode in, surprise briefly flickering across his face before his features smoothed into practiced neutrality. "Grandmother," he greeted, crossing to Camilla's side and sliding an arm around her waist with practiced ease. "You should have called ahead." "And miss seeing how you really live with your new bride?" Vivian smiled thinly. "I've invited you both to dinner at the estate tomorrow. The entire family is eager to meet the woman who so quickly captured your heart." After Vivian departed, Theo's arm dropped from Camilla's waist. "She suspects something." Camilla sank onto the nearest chair. "She's investigating me, isn't she?" "Most likely," Theo confirmed, loosening his tie. "My grandmother built her empire on knowing everyone's secrets." He studied Camilla with newfound intensity. "We need to be more convincing." "How? I can barely keep track of which fork to use at dinner." "We need to know each other," Theo decided. "Real details. The kind only a genuine couple would share." He sat across from her, suddenly all business. "Tell me everything about yourself, Camilla. By tomorrow, I need to be able to convince my family that I know you better than anyone else in the world." Camilla realized with a chill that her golden cage had just become considerably smaller, and the stakes dangerously higher. "Unexpected developments, you're holding your breath again," Theo whispered as they ascended the grand staircase of the Blackwood estate, surrounded by oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors. Camilla exhaled slowly, her hand tightening on his arm. "Your family terrifies me." "They should," he replied, the ghost of a smile playing at his lips. "They terrify everyone." 6 months into their arrangement, and something had shifted between them. Those initial nights of exchanging life stories, preparation for Vivian's interrogations, had evolved into genuine conversations. Camilla had learned about the boy who'd lost his parents at 12 and been raised by a grandmother who viewed emotions as weaknesses. Theo had discovered the architect who dreamed of creating spaces that felt like home because her own had been fractured by her mother's abandonment. Dinner with the Blackwood clan proved every bit as intimidating as promised. Cousins with shark smiles, uncles asking probing questions about Camilla's modest background, aunts evaluating her posture and pronunciation. Through it all, Theo remained at her side, his hand occasionally finding hers beneath the table, a gesture that had started as performance but now carried an undercurrent of something else. "They're just jealous," Theo told her later as they strolled through the estate's gardens. Moonlight silvered the pathway, and for once no one was watching. "You've accomplished more with genuine talent than they have with all their connections." "Is that a compliment, Mr. Blackwood?" Camilla teased, finding herself genuinely smiling. "Merely an observation," he replied, but his eyes lingered on her face longer than necessary. The fragile peace shattered 3 days later when Camilla entered the lobby of Blackwood Enterprises to surprise Theo with lunch. Through the glass walls of the reception area, she spotted him emerging from the elevator with a striking woman whose hand rested possessively on his arm. Olivia Harrington, explained Josephine, Theo's assistant, appearing at Camilla's side. They were together for years before you. Everyone expected them to marry. Camilla watched as the woman leaned close to whisper something that made Theo's expression darken. Her stomach twisted with an emotion she refused to name. This was a business arrangement. She had no right to jealousy. That evening, Theo found her sketching on the penthouse terrace. "You met Olivia today," he stated. "Not a question, I did," Camilla acknowledged, not looking up from her drawing. "She's returned from Paris specifically to cause problems," he explained, pouring himself a drink. "We have history." "You don't owe me explanations," Camilla reminded him, finally meeting his gaze. "Our arrangement doesn't include fidelity clauses." Something flickered in Theo's eyes. Frustration, perhaps. "Is that what you think this is? Just following the contract?" "Isn't it?" Camilla challenged. Instead of answering, Theo crossed to her side, taking the sketchbook from her hands. The design she'd been working on, renovations for his company's community center project, spread across the page. "These are brilliant," he said quietly. "You've incorporated everything I mentioned wanting." "I listen when you talk," she admitted. His fingers brushed hers as he returned the sketchbook. "So do I, Camilla. More than you realize." That night, for the first time, Theo kissed her. Not for show, not for an audience, but in the privacy of their home, with a gentleness that made her heart race. As his arms encircled her, Camilla faced an uncomfortable truth. Somewhere between the contracts and the pretending, she'd fallen for the man she'd only meant to marry on paper. The revelation. The headline screamed across Camilla's phone screen: "Blackwood airs midnight rendezvous with fashion mogul." Below it, photos showed Theo and Olivia leaving a restaurant, her hand on his arm, their faces close together, 9 months into their marriage, and the tabloid images hit Camilla like a physical blow. She'd known their arrangement was temporary, had reminded herself constantly not to confuse performance with reality. Yet since that first kiss, something real had grown between them, or so she'd thought. "It's not what it looks like," Theo insisted when he returned to the penthouse. "Finding her packing a suitcase, it never is," Camilla replied, folding another shirt with trembling hands. "I forgot the fundamentals of our arrangement, Theo. My mistake. Will you stop packing and listen?" He moved to block her path to the closet. "Olivia is threatening to expose our marriage as fraudulent. She has connections at the registry office. She suspects the truth." Camilla froze. "What does she want?" "Me," Theo said bluntly. "She wants what she's always wanted, the Blackwood name and fortune. I was meeting her to negotiate." "One negotiate?" Camilla echoed. "I offered to buy her silence," he admitted. She refused. "She's convinced if she creates enough scandal, you'll leave and I'll turn to her." Camilla sat heavily on the edge of the bed. "Maybe that's the simplest solution. Our contract has served its purpose. Your company is thriving independently of your grandmother's control. My father's business is stable. Is that what you want?" Theo asked, his voice strangely hollow. "To end this now?" Before she could answer, the penthouse elevator chimed. Mrs. Harmon appeared, her usual composure shattered. "Mrs. Blackwood, the elder Mrs. Blackwood, is on her way up. She seems quite disturbed." Moments later, Vivian Blackwood stormed into the bedroom, waving a document Camilla recognized immediately. Their marriage contract. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Vivian's voice vibrated with fury. "A marriage of convenience to circumvent my wishes? A paid arrangement to access what isn't rightfully yours yet?" Theo stepped forward, placing himself between his grandmother and Camilla. "Where did you get that?" "Your Miss Harrington was quite helpful once I explained certain financial incentives," Vivian replied coldly. "Imagine my shock discovering my grandson had reduced the Blackwood name to a transaction." "Your inheritance clause left me no choice," Theo countered. "There's always a choice," Vivian snapped. "I created that clause to ensure you wouldn't marry without genuine commitment. Instead, you found a loophole and a willing accomplice." Her gaze shifted to Camilla. "How much did he pay you?" "Was it worth it?" "That's enough." Theo's voice cut through the room. "Camilla is my wife." "A wife you purchased," Vivian corrected. "The board will be fascinated to learn how their new CEO acquired his controlling interest. The inheritance will be contested, of course. Everything you've built will crumble." After Vivian swept out, promising legal consequences, silence engulfed the penthouse. Camilla resumed packing. "Where are you going?" Theo asked quietly. Home, she answered. This was never real, Theo. We've been lying to everyone, including ourselves. Not everything was a lie, he insisted, reaching for her hand. Camilla, somewhere along the way, she pulled away. It doesn't matter now. Your grandmother will make sure we both lose everything. I don't care about the money, Theo said, the words seeming to surprise even him. You should, Camilla replied, closing her suitcase. It's the only reason we're here. The true fortune, the offices of Mendoza Construction occupied a modest building on the outskirts of Boston. Camilla leaned over blueprints spread across her desk, reviewing changes to a community center design. 3 months had passed since she'd walked away from the Blackwood penthouse and the marriage that had begun as business and ended in heartbreak. Her father entered, moving slowly with his cane but looking healthier than he had in years. Another late night, mija? Just finishing up, she smiled. How was physical therapy? The same, he shrugged, studying her face. You've restored the company, Camilla. Made it better than ever, but you're not happy. I'm fine, she insisted automatically. You haven't been fine since you left him, her father observed. Whatever happened between you two was never real, Camilla completed. Just an arrangement that served its purpose. Before her father could respond, their office manager appeared in the doorway. Camilla, there's someone here to see you. Theo Blackwood stood in the reception area, looking strangely out of place in his expensive suit. Something was different about him. A tension missing from his shoulders, perhaps, or a new clarity in his eyes. You're a difficult woman to reach when you're ignoring my calls, he said without preamble. I've been busy, Camilla replied, crossing her arms. Rebuilding a life tends to consume one's time. I've been busy too, Theo countered, placing a folder on the desk between them. Dissolving the Blackwood Trust, restructuring the company, creating a new foundation. Camilla stared at him. What are you talking about? I gave it all back, he explained. The inheritance, the controlling shares, everything my grandmother's clause would have granted me. I returned control to her. Why would you do that? Camilla asked, genuinely bewildered. You worked for years to break free from her influence. Because keeping it meant accepting that our marriage was nothing but a contract, Theo said quietly. And somewhere along the way I stopped believing that. He stepped closer. When my grandmother threatened to take everything, I realized none of it mattered if you weren't there. The money, the power, it was worthless compared to what we'd built together. What we built was based on a lie, Camilla reminded him. The beginning was, Theo acknowledged. But not the middle, and definitely not how I want it to end. He pulled out a familiar gold band from his pocket. I'm asking you to marry me, Camilla. Not for money or inheritance or business. Just because I love you. You gave up everything, she whispered, staring at the ring. Your grandmother will never forgive you. Actually, Theo smiled slightly. She's the one who told me to come here. Said any man fool enough to surrender a fortune for love had finally learned what the Blackwood name should really stand for. And what's that? Camilla asked, her heart racing. Something that can't be bought or sold, he answered, taking her hand. Something we found by accident while pretending it existed. Her father cleared his throat from the doorway. I'll just leave you two to sort this out, he said, failing to hide his smile as he departed. Alone with Theo, Camilla felt the walls she'd built beginning to crumble. If I say yes, no contracts this time. No arrangements, just vows, Theo promised. Real ones. As his lips met hers, Camilla realized they'd both discovered the same truth. The most valuable things in life couldn't be signed away on paper or protected by legal clauses. The richest inheritance wasn't measured in stock portfolios or real estate holdings, but in finding someone who knew all your secrets and loved you anyway. This time, when Theo slipped the ring onto her finger, no pretending was necessary.